In this video, I'm demonstrating how to stack up your quilt block units in such a way that it's quicker to sew the blocks together. This can also be done with finished blocks that you're sewing together in a big quilt. When I first started doing this, it did confuse me, so I do suggest you do this when you have your least distractible amount of time. For sake of identification, this is going to get sewn. These two blocks, these two blocks, these two blocks, and this third will get sewn after you've sewn those 6. So I'm going to stack them up the way I will sew them. The sewn edge is towards me. When I first started doing this, I stuck pins in each one of these. I'll do that today, and then I'm going to use those pins for pretend sewing. Alright, so I have those two layered together. This row over here. I'm going to stack them up in the order I'm going to sew them. If this confuses you, I would suggest you put a post-it note on there that says 1, 2, 3, and over here 1, 2, 3. Stacking this on top of this on top of this. What this tells me is that I take that over to my sewing machine and I lay it down to my left with those pins towards me, and then I know I can pick this up and sew it. Then I will chain stitch to this block and then to this block. I'm going to put them back out like this and pretend sew with my pins, and I'm going to use safety pins to represent the chain stitching. Just 2 or 3. You got to give yourself enough room so that you're not fighting your sewn units when you go to sew the second set of stitching lines. So I've swapped all my pins. And sometimes what I do is I have always done a sewn block to refer back to. If I'm going to sew 400 of a block, I'm going to sew 1 so that I have something to go by, so I can go, oh, okay. So like right here, you would go, oh, okay, I'm going to sew that. Then I'm going to sew these 2. Then I'm going to sew these 2. And if I've gotten confused because I'm tired, I just go back and I lay it down on my board and do what I just did, so that I say, okay, I'm not sewing this together wrong. So this is when it starts getting a little flappy, and it will make you think you've done it wrong. But after you do it for a while, it definitely saves some time. So I have these are sewn together. Then I would come here with my stack. Now I'm going to kind of go back in time here. And what I would have done, had I done it already, would be to put a pin in the edge that I'm going to sew. So I would have my stack of my 2 blocks to the left of my sewing machine. I would have these on the right side of my sewing machine, so that I would pick up that. And when I first started doing this, I would put a pin in each one of these and then stack it up with a pin in the center to hold it all together. So that I could go, oh, okay, you go here. And again, for sake of brevity, I'm sticking pins in this thing. great thing about doing this is that if you get interrupted, well, first of all, you can say, excuse me, I have to finish this before I can talk to you. But if you can only get to here, you have your squares all together because they are chain stitched, and you're ready when you come back to sew your next set of seams, which are the seams here, here, and here. I'm going to show you how flappy it gets. Oh look, I didn't pin there. And eventually your brain quits fighting with it being flappy, and you know, but see, you've got it here. This is when I finger press and I decide which way I'm going with my seams so that I can nest right here. But you can see it's quite flappy. What I would do with this, if I got interrupted, would not be to put it back in a box. I would pin it to a wall, my design board, or I have quilts hanging on my walls, so I pin to them, just so that it's not getting awkwardly squashed. But you can see while your next seams are going to be done like that, sew here, and then sew this. Hopefully that makes sense.